All right, and here we are. Welcome back. We're at the Business Octopus, and today we're going to be talking about Ghostbusters when a potential client ghosts you. What do you do?
Well, you
what is ghosting?
commiserate and eat popcorn and watch Ghostbusters, don't you? Is that why we're here? I'm here to talk about a movie, am I not? No?
Well, I guess it can feel like a bit of a movie, like looking at your business life, and a lot of the times, we don't want to get our streams crossed with the wrong thing. So what we're going to be doing is talking about how to deal with customers ghosting you, so that you can get your deals moving forward, so that you don't get slimed. You've got plenty of opportunities in the pipeline that you can execute on. And there's a few things you can do before you get to the point of having that conversation where you send the proposal and then you get the crickets. So I think before we get to that, we want to lay the groundwork and prepare to not be ghosted. I've got a few tips and tricks, but there's some things that you can do before you get to the moment of truth, which is generally when you send pricing. That's what 100%. I think.
It's when that proposal's gone out the door, you're biting your nails, and then that's generally where we hear the crickets. Absolutely. So how do we set? So you're saying we need to set ourselves up for success, right? So less crickets.
Well, I think, like after a certain point in running my business, I rarely get that at all. Most of the time, I'm in a conversation. We've done enough filtering on the front end for them to go, we're in this or we're not in this, but we're going to be clear with you because you've been clear with us. So we've set, I think when you're a small sole operator, quite often you get used as a price benchmark, because people just want to go, we're probably not going to go with you anyway, but we'll just hear what you tell us, get some free info. And then when you send the proposal, we're just gonna get that as like price matching against somebody else, and then we'll make a decision. But it's probably not going to be you. But they're not going to tell you that. They're just not going to respond. They're just going to go completely dark. So, in order to avoid that situation, you really need to demonstrate that sort of credibility, and you also need to filter them out. And I would say don't release the information too fast. I like to have a quick 5 or 10 minute call before we get into that first meeting, just to go, hey, before we do this, I just want to make sure, are we a good fit for each other? Just give me a quick high level. What are you looking to achieve? What's your revenue? What's your number of staff? And are you going to be a good fit for us? Because the moment you go, oh, goody, a client, yes, please, sir, hold my hat out. Can I have some more? I want to do that particular project because it's the only one I've got. But if you come across as like, look, we're busy, we've got heaps of clients, we would like to work with you if you would like to work with us, but we don't want to waste your time or ours. Let's get to that and make that decision quick. And I think that is valuable, whether or not you have 1,000,001, projects in the pipeline or not. That doesn't matter. What matters is spend your time wisely. They will respect you for it, and you will have more time to chase the people that are going to be good fit for you. So that's probably number one. The next thing I would do is get more than one person on the call. Get somebody else in the company. Like if you're dealing in B2B, you got to buy a team.
100%. Absolutely.
Because like a buy team, like if there are certain buyer roles within a company. Now, buyer roles can exist within one person, 2 people, or 5 people, right? So a buyer role is you've got the influencer, the decision maker, the gatekeeper, the financial buyer, and then the end user. And so within that, like if I'm going to go buy a chocolate bar, I walk in there, like it's just me, but my influencer is like, oh, I'm going to get a chocolate bar. The financial buyer in me is like, oh, I've got the money. Why not? And then the gatekeeper's like, you're on a diet, fatty, get out. So like, or if I'm going to go buy a giant marshmallow or something like that, then what I need to do is I need to address each of those roles within myself to then go and make that buying decision. And if it passes all of those, then we're fine. if that exists within two people, like a business partners, I'm sure someone's more on the purse strings, someone else is more on the, the influence and decision side, or maybe there's a mix of both. But in any sense, the more people you can involve, or the more roles you can engage within that conversation, the easier it is going to be to get across the line and not have that problem.
Yes, no, this makes sense. And so what tool, systems, or processes can I use if I've got him in front, I'm in front of my two people, I've got my key stakeholders in the room. How do not just set us up for success, how do I set them up for success so they have the information that they need to make an informed decision and come back to me quickly or in a reasonable amount of time instead of just disappearing off the face of the planet?
Well, sometimes people who are in front of you, you may only get one person, and there is a buy team behind the scenes that you don't know about or you haven't been introduced to yet. Mm-hmm. So what you need to do is provide enough conviction for that person to understand and educate them on what you do, but provide them some materials that when you leave that meeting, it's not just all gone. We know that through like reading or studying, memory retention, you lose 90% of the information after the first 24 hours.
True.
So if you've got some assets, something written down, we ran another session in a community, which was about sales enablement tools. And we talked about using things like, product flyers, case studies, your capability statement, and then also having like a deal room to bundle it up really nicely. Mm-hmm. Video is a great way to do it. Record the meeting if you can, if it makes sense to do so. Don't just jump straight in and record. Let people know, ask for permission, send them a summary email afterwards to go, hey, great meeting. This is what we talked about. Here's what I think we should do next. That is something they can forward. They don't then have to download it from their brain onto a document or relay it verbally to somebody else. They're not going to do it justice. If you give them a third party tool to use to be able to promote it internally, then, you're going to get into that next dimension. You're going to be able to solve the issue of that internal communication problem. And you're going to reduce that memory loss problem when they exit that meeting. And, you got to remember that there's probably some politics at play. There's probably some, if they're the junior, maybe they're not taken seriously. So if they come to that meeting, there's already a wall, there's already a bias that's going to block that communication anyway. So you want to create something that's irrefutable. Right? That next person that reads it can judge it for themselves without any of that bias or in the middle.
Excellent. And so, and this is something you have implemented fairly recently, Avon. I know we have as well. How has that changed the game for you from the ghosting perspective?
Doesn't happen. I get intelligence on who clicks the link and how interested they are. So I can see when they've engaged with the content. I can then pick up the phone, even if we've not gotten to a proposal at that point, because that's the point at which they ghost you. And you give enough evidence of interest and, engagement prior to the point of sending it that they feel they owe you an answer. You want to humanize yourself, be connected, be personable. Mm-hmm. And you can do that when you're not focusing on 100 other things. So if you've got it pre-built templates or whatever, you're not like completely drained of energy by the time you get on the call, then you can actually focus on them and go, here's all this stuff I prepared earlier. What questions do you have? And give them time to go through it and then come back and then go backwards and forwards and then make sure that they're clear on the process. Because if they don't understand that you go through this, patented 5-step process that makes sure clients are successful and they don't know where they're at in that process, then they don't have the confidence that just because you gave them a proposal, it doesn't mean they have the confidence that that will then turn into the action that they are going to put their money down for. So it reduces fear.
Yes. So anything we can do to disperse that fear, right? So we're objection handling before the objection comes up. Is that right?
Exactly. Some of the things that might be happening inside the company is they're not the decision maker. Maybe they were super keen on it and never really had the authority to reach out to you. They're just kind of like curious. Maybe and that'll get handled in your qualification, and you should say, what's your role in this process? And they'll go, oh, I'm
Great
new
question.
here. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Could you introduce me to somebody who is a decision maker? I think, in order for me to invest my time in this, this is what we need to do. And I want to make sure that it's super valuable for you and for me. And then the other thing after you've done all of that is the follow-up. Statistically speaking, most people give up after, 46% of people give up after the first follow-up attempt. But 80% of sales are made after the 5th follow-up attempt.
Number 5. Wow, that's incredible. You're leaving money on the table at that point, right?
Well,
that's crazy.
Like most of your work, all your money in marketing is pretty much down the toilet. All the effort that you've gone to is a waste. These people know you. They've built a relationship with you in the several meetings. And by the time you hand them the proposal, that ideally should be the point at which they go, well, yes or no because of this, and let's come and rethink that problem. And you might just, refactor the deal and bring the right size, the price or the product or something like that. And yeah, we like it, but it's a bit much. You go, all right, well, I'll take off the delivery. You just come and pick it up, and then you can afford it. Move some things around. You can get there. But if you're not following up, like we've got a structured system that forces our team, not forces, but like that guides them through to the 5th follow-up every single time. If they think it's worth more follow-ups, go for it. If not, then at least we've got to our statistical minimum success level and improved our sales immensely.
So, and is it at that point after 5, you've got to question whether it's worth my time and effort, just like, not to bang our heads against the wall, right?
Yeah. You asked me before about, follow up till you get a no. What happens if they're ghosting you? You're not getting that feedback at all. So obviously the follow up could be, through a one-way message through LinkedIn. You've tried sending an SMS. Hey, post a letter. Post a little gift. If it's a big enough deal, send them a box of chocolates or biscuits for the office or a cake or something like that. Yeah, these things get attention.
Yeah, cool. I like that. That's a cool strategy. Yes, way to stand out.
And another one is always book another time, because when you're in the call, like if we're on the call and we get to the end, we go, so when would you like to meet next? And they go, I don't know, maybe. Then you go, well, why don't we give it 2 weeks? We'll just put this on the calendar. We can move it. If you don't want to turn up, we can cancel it. That's fine. But let's just put something down just as a catch-all so we don't forget and we move it on. You've got a problem that you want solved. If you just keep kicking it down the road, it'll never get solved. So why don't we just put a little catch-all in here, and then we've at least got another thing where we can just catch up, just a little half hour, 15 minutes, whatever. No stress, but we can go, where are you at? Have a quick conversation. That is valuable because that's a transaction. It's not monetary, it's a time transaction. So there is still value and they feel committed at that point. So if they've put it on the calendar, they're more likely to turn up. If you go, we'll follow up with you in about 2 weeks, they can ignore an email.
Exactly. So, and you've locked in that next step. So you've taken care of the next step in the process, whether they show up or they don't. You're in a much better position than when you said, we'll follow up with you in 2 weeks. Absolutely.
Yeah. And, you're going to reduce your no-shows because you're not waiting for them to send an invite after the fact. You're on the call. They have told you, most likely they've, like I'm talking in my perspective where I'm doing Zoom calls quite regularly, is they've opened up their calendar and gone, yes, I am free on that date. And I will give you that information, and you send it to them right then and there. So you go, all right, here is the calendar invite. I'm going to update with some extra information in the next little while. And then away you go.
Excellent. And just for context, team. I have this one client that we started talking to back in March, and he actually follows up with me every 4 weeks or so. He says, "Hey Amanda, haven't forgotten about you. Been really busy. We still want to do it. We just haven't had the bandwidth." And it's lovely. I've never had to chase him up because I know around that 4 week mark, he's just going to come back in. And that's really lovely. I think it works both ways as well. If people want to work with you, it may genuinely be not the right time, is another thing to consider. And people are busy. They've got so many things going on. It may not be that they're ignoring us intentionally. They've just got 50 conflicting priorities. And that's where there's value in keep going back to them. That I love that rule of fives. That's awesome, Avon.
Well, here's another little hack for you, is that there is gold in your closed lost opportunities. If they come back to you and they go, no, thank you, we've gone with the other guy, or we've decided to go another direction, or we've decided not to go ahead, or whatever. Come back in like 3 months, 6 months after a period of time and go, hey, we had a conversation a while ago. We learned all about your business. You learn all about us. Where are you at? Do you need any more help? And sometimes if they went with the other person, that relationship went bad, then you might then be a good option to come back to, particularly if you are, second on the list of for whatever reason. So maybe they went with the cheaper one, but then regretted it. They still have the problem. Or maybe that something happened internally, something reshifted, a budget changed, someone got redirected or promoted or whatever, and then it just ground to a halt. Doesn't mean it's a no, doesn't mean they don't still have that problem, just means that maybe that wasn't the right time. And even though they've said no, if you're coming back later, they've already built the relationship with you. They've already spent time to figure you out. They've already got an idea of your price bracket and the value you bring. They've entertained the idea enough. And so coming back to the well 3 months, 6 months down the line, sometimes even a year down the line. I've closed clients that have said no, and a year later they've come back. Or, maybe it wasn't the right time. They didn't have the budget, but then business has gone well. Now they have the budget and they're ready to go. So it wasn't a no because they don't like you, and you don't take that personally. It was a no because of circumstances in and around their business, and that was the reason why. And you can bring back deals from the dead.
Exactly. And that's a really good point, Avon. So team, make sure you're following up your closed, not one. And remember as well, especially if you're in B2B, sometimes things just take a very long time. Like I've had deals that we've been sitting on for 18 months. They've taken that long because, like you say, there's just so many different moving parts, so many different variables, people moving around, budgets changing.
Yeah.
You can resurrect these things.
Yeah. So if you're interested in finding out more, or if you've got questions, jump into the Relevate community, join.relevate.com.au. And we have a lot of these discussions. If you have an idea, or a question you want to pose, then we can answer you directly. Or, sometimes people ask us questions there and then we bring it to these live streams. So if you'd like to have an input, feel free also, if you're in LinkedIn, YouTube, or any of the others, just give us a like and a share and a comment, and it helps give us the feedback on what we're doing well and how we can improve. But I think that's a good episode, and I think we've covered a lot. So I think, stay puffed.
Do it.